Hello and welcome to Center of Weirdness, the weird podcast about very weird stuff, but it's mostly just about TV episodes. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hey, Josh. Hey, everyone. Just so you all know, my boy Shake brings all the milk to the yard.
All right, trying out some new catchphrases, eh?
Anything. I mean, that joke is probably only 1% worse than everything.
No, I think that joke would fit in with the show that we were talking about on this episode.
I think with the time frame reference, it might be a little too new.
Maybe. So this week on the show, we are talking about the Pentaverate, the recently released Netflix series from Mike Myers. And this came out, about maybe a month ago or so.
Well,
we're getting to it a little late, but...
yeah. I mean, but you guys might remember this as having come out some time ago, only a month, and people going, hey, there's this one scene, can you believe it? And then it just disappearing off the face of the planet.
Yeah, the only reason I wanted to cover it, yes, it was released May 5th of 2020, so...
2022, you mean?
What's that?
You said 2020, which
2022. Yes, sorry.
It's been 2020 for quite some time.
It feels like it could have come out in 2020 because some of the jokes are dated enough that they wouldn't have felt as dated if it had come out in 2020.
Well, Alex Trebek is still alive in this world.
Apparently, in this universe, he is. And you're hearing this probably about a month from when this was released, and it kind of did sort of fall off the face of the earth. Like, the only reason that I even wanted to remotely look at this and talk about it was because of one scene that started to go around the internet. And because the trailers looked terrible, the humor looked terrible, and it turns out the show is terrible. I mean, we're judging it on one episode in the middle of the run, so it's hard, yes, I'm sure there are little nuances that we're not getting and callbacks that we're not getting, but I honestly wanted to watch it because there was a scene that plays out in the episode that we picked, episode 4, where one of the various characters that Mike Myers plays, Ken Scarborough, who is a Canadian journalist.
See, it's funny because Scarborough is a suburb of Toronto.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, thank you.
That's the full joke.
You're here to help us navigate the Canadian humor that crops up here that would have gone over the head of the average American.
I mean, the Canadian jokes are, there are multiple characters who are Canadian. One is a young British lady playing Canadian who just says "oot" as her Canadian accent. Mike Myers overplaying his Ontario accent, and they do the joke of Canadians all know what celebrities are Canadians, which was really funny when pointed out in 1995.
Yeah, so the scene, though, in particular, our character Ken Scarborough is being chased by the Sasquatch from an episode of The $6 Million Man.
Somehow that should be funnier.
It should be, but because as soon as I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, is that a reference to the $6 billion man or $6 million man? Sorry, he'd be $6 billion man now. With inflation, break out your inflation calculator and tell me how much it would cost to make a $6 million man today.
He could almost afford if he sold off parts of himself, he could almost afford a tank of gas.
He could almost afford a place to live.
He's not living in San Fran.
No, but I was like, when I saw the clip briefly, I was like, oh, is that what that's based on? That's kind of a funny, weird reference that not a lot of people will get. And they still won't, but they do make sure you know by putting the $6 Million Man sound effect in there as the Sasquatch runs after him.
Having watched this episode, and I want to point out, we're going to miss a lot of the jokes and a lot of the running gags. We have jumped in the middle of other shows for this podcast, and it not being a gigantic killer of the momentum of the show. Mind those generally aren't comedies, so they don't have the callbacks, but I am sure I have like a 97% certainty that when that Sasquatch showed up, that they made that noise, and then there was a pause. They squared the camera on Mike Myers' face, so he's perfectly centered, making eye contact, and then he would have said, "Is that the Sasquatch from $6 Million Man?"
It probably does happen in like episode 3 or whenever this character shows up. And also a big step down for the Pentaverate because fucking Andre the Giant is not playing this Sasquatch like he did in the $6 Million Man episode.
I mean, hard to cast him.
True. That would be very difficult. But, you know, in this world, Alex Trebek is apparently still alive. So maybe Andre the Giant is too.
I have so few notes about this one.
Oh, apparently Sasquatch is in 4 episodes of this show.
Wow, there are only 6 episodes.
Yeah, he's in 1, 3, 4, and 5. So they really get the most out of that. They really get the most out of that.
One of the shorter episodes because nothing happens.
Yeah, I mean, but anyway, so he's being chased by the Sasquatch, and he is at this. He's in Dubrovnik, Croatia, and he is saved by, or he's at the Ogre of Dubrovnik festival, and he is saved by the actual ogre, Shrek, and this feels like a weird internet joke but even it is like too late. Like,
it's way too late.
I feel like the Shrek memes have they've already sort of run their course, and it's sort of done at this point. Like, I mean, they're still funny, but not like they were. Like, I think of Shrek memes.
Mouth moods have.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. I think Neil Cicierega was like at the height of the Shrek meme, and like from him, everybody kind of came at it right after him, and then they've slowly tapered off in the last 5
you don't
years.
Understand? He has the right to do this because he is Shrek.
He does.
And also, they don't play All-Star. They play I'm a Believer by the Monkees by Smash Mouth.
Yes.
From Shrek.
Yeah,
the lesser of the 2 Smash Mouth cover songs.
Yeah. Shrek, this person in a Shrek costume, a pretty good looking one, actually. Looks better than
Are we sure it's not the real Shrek? Because they never take off their costume.
That's true. I mean, I was going to say that it does look better than any of the random theatrical presentations of Shrek, like the theater performances of Shrek that I've seen.
Not as good as the Fiona Ogre version that was at the zoo that frequent guest on the show, Phil Gonzalez and I went to one time when we took our daughters to the zoo trick or treat, who Phil made me take a picture with.
but yeah, he shows up, he headbutts Sasquatch and allows Ken to escape.
And though.
It's not funny, but it was
it's not the least. It was not the least funny part of the show.
No, it was so baffling. And I was like, oh, well, we have to do this on Center of Weirdness just because I want to see the context that comes in, which it doesn't really help because, again, we're watching the 4th episode of this 6-episode series. So, you know, who knows what prefaced that. But I don't think Shrek is mentioned up until this point because why would he be? But, like, I was just like, this is, and even seeing it in the actual context of the episode, I'm like, that's such a weird thing. Like, it's so strange.
It's shot weird too. It's like from weird angles. It's kind of dreamy. The whole thing is in a section of the show where the joke isn't Eastern European weird? like they're going to a festival, so everyone is in garb, where the people of Croatia are throwing their nets full of regrets at their local ogre. Who happens to be Shrek.
Well, there's other ogre costumes, not as good as the Shrek costume. So you might be right. It might actually be the real Shrek.
Yeah, but they're all like, you know, dressed like it's Middle Ages, and everyone's weird. It's a small little castle town. And it's like, I mean, what is that really that funny anymore? I mean, it's funnier than what's coming up with Jennifer Saunders.
Yeah, well, apparently she's also in like 4 or 5 episodes of this series.
Well, she plays 2 characters.
Yes, exactly. So, I think
fuck that scene. I'm sitting here. I'm just angry about it.
Well, okay, so we'll go through it. Basically, he's in. So
We're skipping the full part at the start with the conspiracy
yeah,
guy in
well,
the car
I was going to go
because
back there. So he
yeah,
plays a character named Anthony, who is, from what I can tell from this one scene that he's in, is a conspiracy theorist kind of guy. I think he might be playing an American. I'm not totally sure.
he's a New England. I'll bring up the cast thing
Oh,
from
thank you.
Wikipedia. Tell you he's a and I'll fill in one little really smart little part at the end there. He plays Anthony Lansdowne, a New England conspiracy theorist who is determined to expose the Pentaverate.
Okay, great.
And he's in there with Riley Clayton, a young woman who serves as an accomplice to Ken Scarborough. She is the other Canadian. She has a T-shirt that says "Canada, the American dream without the guns" or something.
Wonderful.
Good timing. Whenever this would have came out, always good timing.
Yeah, no, that shirt is evergreen, I think. So he's sitting there, they're talking about conspiracy theories and whatnot, and he mentions that, like, the government, she mentions the government doing bad things. And he says, he talks about, like Pizzagate, and then she says no. She talks about the Tuskegee experiment and things like that, which I thought wasn't a conspiracy theory. Like, I think isn't there verifiable proof of that, or am I like outing myself as a conspiracy theorist?
I think the joke might be that she says that like there's verifiable things they have done that are evil.
Oh, okay, yes.
Versus things you have to that you have to pretend are the real bad things they did.
Sure. And he agrees that Tuskegee is real. Yeah.
He agrees it's real. He thinks she's agreeing with him and doesn't get the point. And then it breaks down to her telling him he stinks while their car fills with a green gas. Very, very slowly.
Yeah, there's some person who gasses them, some silent person with a mustache.
That is Higgins.
No, I think Higgins is the guy who gets his head.
Higgins is the guy his head gets cut off.
I don't know who this is.
He's a mysterious mustachioed man.
Yes, I can't figure him out from the cast list.
Neil Malarkey.
Okay, all right. Well, some guy with a mustache. He that's his character's name is Neil Malarkey, or is that his real name?
That's his name. His character's name is Mysterious Mustachioed Man.
Okay, great. I'm sure he plays a big part, and probably when he does finally speak, it's a big deal. He probably has a little squeaky voice or something.
That would be fucking hilarious.
But yeah, this guy doesn't.
Maybe he sounds like Shrek.
This guy doesn't speak. But they get gassed and they pass out, and then we get to the opening where we have Jeremy Irons doing the opening narration, and he just, for whatever reason, starts talking about Stranger Things.
It's funny because that's also on Netflix, so he can,
but it's like he starts talking about the episode, but then he starts saying, well, it all started when a group of boys in '84 met with some girl named 11 and blah 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 blah, and then he starts just continuing to carry on with this stuff, and he's like, see, you have to pay attention, and this is episode 4 and you've already watched 3 of them, so you'd be dumb to stop now. And that's how it starts. So all right.
I mean, like we should point out one of the other reasons why we really wanted to cover this, besides the fact that we liked the Pentaverate speech from So I Married an Axe Murderer, as does everybody.
Okay.
Which this has nothing to do with.
Well, do your thing, and then I want to bring it back to that.
Yeah. So like, once again, that is a hilarious speech. One of the best parts of that movie. This is named after it. Has nothing to do with it that we can tell. But we watched the preview of it, like the little trailer of it, just before it came out, and it was unbelievably unfunny. I was looking for any jokes in it, and yet all the commentary read were, "I'm pissing myself laughing," and I could not figure out from what. Like, even at a very base level, if somehow you had never seen another parody or comedy where, like, Mike Myers movie, like anything before, like, this wasn't all well trodden ground, or your idea of wordplay is really, really basic, which is fine, but it wasn't like nothing was there. This was their highlight reel to make you watch it. And it was there was nothing there, and yet apparently I'm wrong because all the comments were, "This is the fucking funniest thing. Finally, some real comedy." And I'm like, "Wait, what are you talking about?"
Yeah, I think that
And I loved Mike Myers in the 90s and 80s. I absolutely
I think
was
that's
like,
the thing is that like I think that his humor, a lot like a lot of the humor of a lot of people that we used to like, their humor never quite evolved. It never, and it's not to say that like Mike Myers has, like he's being like transphobic, like a lot of comedians are nowadays, or being sexist or anything like that. It's just that his humor seems to like the things that maybe we found funny in the 90s when we were younger, he still finds very funny. And like I don't know if they just don't work because we have changed, or
or
if it's because they were
he's
never
done it
funny to
enough time.
begin with.
Never,
Like
like
I don't totally know, but like I also think that this show, and granted, I don't like I have not watched the other 5 episodes. I don't think that I will based on this one episode, and maybe that's not fair to the show, but like I feel like the what we get from his character in So I Married an Axe Murderer, where he's spinning this yarn about the Pentaverate and like how they're this secret society who's been involved in all kinds of world issues, and one of the members is the Colonel, and like so on and so forth, and like that is all you need to know about them, and it's very funny. And it's like,
but you don't have to go down the hole.
it is the exact same problem that happens with a lot of remakes and sequels to movies, where they're like, we got to explain why the character's like this now, or we got to go into like like in Halloween remake or whatever. It's like we have to explain why Michael Myers is a murderer, to use someone with the exact same name.
Yeah.
But like we don't need to do that. We can just have it happen. And like I don't know if we needed the Pentaverate. And it's so weird to do a show that comes out in 2020, maybe shot, he's probably been working on it forever, but maybe shot in 2020 and in 2021. But a show that like is so dependent on this idea that came out in 93.
It's really funny. I mean, like what, and it could be this too. I mean, besides like everyone only has a certain amount of ideas in them. You have a personal house style where at a certain point you have done it and people have seen it. But like Wayne's World, like famously he fought with the director Penelope Spheris like strongly, because Mike's an asshole from what everyone says, and he has a very strong opinion of what comedy is. And you can see it here, which is you center the camera on him, you pause, let him make a face, and deliver the punchline very, very clearly. Raise an eyebrow, pause the camera, and then move on. He thinks he doesn't have that eye connection with the audience, the joke is lost. Like he's misdirecting it. That is literally what he thinks. And he fought with the director of So I Married Axe Murderer for the same thing. But the tension of actually forcing him to make an actual fucking movie probably helped make those movies better.
Well, and it was also, it was him. Like he wasn't totally in charge. Like I know someone else directed these episodes, but like he wrote
but this is
it's
him.
his story. He's doing a ton of characters. Like
he's writing the episodes.
Yeah.
Like he's the producer. Like he's executive producer. Like this is him. This is like, I'm sure he's very satisfied with how this turned out.
Hey, I'm sure he is. I mean, and again, it does sound like we're just totally shitting on the thing. But it's not funny. I don't know what to tell you.
I want to explain. There's a scene in this movie that is so unfunny, in this episode, so unfunny, so fucking unfunny, that is maybe the least I've enjoyed my life for two minutes in quite some time, and the last few years have been incredibly unpleasant.
Yeah, so once we get through the credits, which have like it's very much using the same like kind of layout and look of the text as The Prisoner, which I think it's obviously an inspiration to it, a secret kind of society of people doing things. Which is an excellent show. We should probably cover an episode of that on this show.
I think so.
Because it's such a weird show, and I think that's a show that actually I think shows could take an interesting rule from now, because everything is very serialized. Like, we're right on the other side of them just releasing the latest season or the latest part of Stranger Things, where every episode is like an hour and 20 minutes, and you have to like watch them all and like understand what the fuck is going on. And The Prisoner did 13 episodes, and there are disagreements about what order you need to watch the episodes in, because there are references and other things going on. But it's also a show where you could just watch one episode and you understand what is going on, because it does that smart thing of giving you the story in the opening credits, that you don't have to know anything else about it. But like,
you don't need to know his backstory. You can pretend that he's the character from his show before.
Yes, you can. But that's only if you know it. If you don't, you just see that he resigns from a government office and then gets gassed and wakes up on an island. And now he's trying to figure out what's going on.
Number 2 is different every episode.
Yeah.
Every episode is telling has a different point it's trying to make.
There's like several different lists where people have gone through and based on lines of dialogue and references, they're like, this is the correct order to watch the episodes in. And then other people are like, no, you should watch them in this order. And then like other people are like, no, just watch them in the order they were released. No, watch them in the order they were filmed.
I imagine from our experience, in this show, you are supposed to watch these in numerical order, which is fine. It's not a Teddy Ruxpin level of dense.
No, it's not. But also I would wonder, like, why didn't they just do 5 episodes?
I mean, that is like, when we first heard that there were 6 episodes, I literally messaged you and said, what the fuck is their problem? How could they be so fucking stupid that there's 6 episodes?
I mean, they do make they do have that fun joke that you would see in a lot of 2000s movies, where there would be a quote attributed to someone, and it's very, very funny. Like, immediately springing to mind is Talladega Nights, something about gotta go fast or something like that, and it's attributed to Nancy Reagan or something like that, who's busy blowing people in hell right now. Yeah. But they do that here too. They have a quote from some former member of the Pentaverate, and then they have a quote from the Billie Eilish song Bad Guy, and it says that she's a future member of the Septaverate. So I guess there is another group with 7 members coming. So maybe that's some
maybe
hint.
they're going to expand what they're going. But hey, you could do this. You could have so many seasons of this and just keep adding to the Taverates.
Yes, and
except for this is never coming back. I don't think.
I probably
Netflix
not.
Is,
but like,
said they're not doing that thing anymore.
But like, they, but they also have her song play at the end of the episode. So
because
as a callback,
it's telling you the last line of the show. Or there's a big reveal. I wonder which means nothing to us because we weren't there.
But I will explain. Every episode is like that.
This is the kind of show that you would do that with, right?
You would just put up random quotes, and then somehow that quote would lead into whatever the last line of the episode is.
Like,
that takes a lot of work.
It's to the point where we're making fun of the show for having 6 episodes instead of 5, but I could imagine the opening narration of the 6th episode would be making fun of the show for having 6 episodes.
Oh, you know what? You're probably right. I bet Jeremy Irons has some fun there. Jeremy Irons as Jeremy Irons. They are they make sure to mention.
Well, I mean, also the other 2 characters playing themselves in the show are Maria Menounos and Rob Lowe, apparently.
Oh God!
And Shrek. Shrek, obviously.
Yeah.
Briefly makes an appearance from the film series of the same name.
Yeah. So we catch up with Ken here, and we catch up with Higgins, who is like apparently, according to Wikipedia, the head of a guard, the Liechtenstein Guard, the Pentaverate security force, and they're in a a little a little bullet car going through a tunnel. I think they mentioned that this is the Elon Musk Hyperloop, which gives me a nice big groan, because fuck that guy. And also, the Hyperloop does not work like this. It's shitty.
Maybe he can buy every podcast network in America.
Yeah, I guess that's what will happen. So they can't was
Make
it
fun of
slander
him.
him anymore? Libel? Which one is in
Libel.
print?
Which one is he going to use the Johnny Depp thing for against everybody?
Yeah. Oh,
So watch
yeah.
out, Onion.
Yeah, watch out. What was it? Hard Drive that was
The hard drive murdered him.
that was fighting with him. Yeah. So they get there to their to the little spot, and they go up a like a elevator that comes out of a public toilet that's just out
So,
in the
yeah.
open.
Yeah, so because these are crazy Eastern Europeans, and they live in a little castle town. So they have this big metal bin in the middle of town
Yeah.
where and it just says toilet on it. So and it's in the center of the square, so you can just go pee in front of everybody.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent. Longtime listeners of our previous podcasts, if you heard our show about Pup Academy, another Netflix show, so maybe there's some crossover here.
We finished that show, right?
No, we never did. We were killed by a dog, and before we got to finish it,
I'm glad we tied up that loose end.
But yeah, in that show, the kid would transport himself to the magical Pup Academy by standing on the toilet and getting swirled up in some magical light that would take him to this special place.
That sounds like the joke the show was doing. It's not.
No,
it's not supposed to be funny.
That's real, and that's magic. So this one is weird because it's just an elevator apparently, and I guess the toilet still works. So when I'm not sure how that would work. Like, you don't see the inside of it; you just see them coming up from the ground behind a little tiny wall, half wall.
It's one of two graphic piss jokes in this episode.
Yeah. You almost see Mike Myers' dick in POV mode. So. Pretty.
It's fun. It's great because literally the best joke he could have ever done for pissing is from the original
Austin Powers.
Yeah, when he just pees for a exceedingly long time after being unfrozen.
Oh yes, yes. And then they duplicate that joke in the second one where he has to pee like a angel fountain or whatever.
You're right. Which already you've hit that high. Why go back to it?
Yeah.
Also, stop. You've made the piss joke.
Yeah.
Don't stop making other ones. You've all anyone's gonna think is, oh, you've made a better one.
Yeah, I think that is.
And this one's
key.
not as funny as the Naked Gun joke.
That's the key to this show. I think is that he has been better in other things, and I
mean, was he better in the Gong Show? Did anyone watch the Gong Show? When it's funny because I feel like the Gong Show was canceled, and then people on Twitter would mention, remember when Mike Myers was in full costume as this host of the Gong Show, and everyone's like, "The fuck? What are you talking about?"
Well, did he also have those chilling blue eyes? Is that character?
You really were hung up on Ken Scarborough.
I was, because it reminded me of, again, hearkening back to previous things that he has done in the Austin Powers series. I don't remember if it's in 2 or 3 where it changes, but the first one is pretty low budget in terms of what it is. It's a comedy movie. They're not spending a ton of money on it, but then obviously it was a huge success. So the second one had more money, and the third one had more money, and they did very well theatrically. But at some point, Dr. Evil changes from just having dark eyes to having these bright blue eyes. And I think it's the third one, and it just looks terrifying. And also Mini-Me has them as well. It's very strange and very uncomfortable. And he looks very similar to that as his character Ken, with these crazy bright blue eyes. And I'm looking at a picture of
Tommy Maitland?
And he does have bright blue eyes.
just keep going back to that well. Yeah, he does.
I love that. I love that there was a mystery about whether or not that was what was going on with that show. Whenever there was there's an Entertainment Weekly article from 2017, and it's like Mike Myers may be the new Gong Show host.
Why would you ever do that?
Is announced host Tommy Maitland the latest creation of the Austin Powers star? And they have a side-by-side picture, and it's like, yes, of course.
What's funny also is like when this came out, people were like, he hasn't done anything for years. It's like he was literally on TV in 2018 doing this shit.
Yeah, he did.
No one, like, it was on for 2 seasons. No one remembers it.
Yeah, and they had a great elaborate background about like who he was and where he had come from and all this stuff, and it's just like, boy, oh boy. I mean, it's very similar to. I mean, I think probably one of his best makeup performances is that random weird general in Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, where he shows up for one scene and he's just standing around in weird makeup. It doesn't really make any sense, and it's very questionable why that's even there. But anyway, getting back to the Pentaverate, they go to the festival. This is when Sasquatch chases them and Shrek jumps in. We see Higgins run off. He tries to lure the Sasquatch away, which does nothing. The Sasquatch doesn't take the bait. We get a talk about Higgins not being able to run very fast because he has a necrotic testicle that he got from, I guess, fucking Estelle Getty.
It's not funny.
I didn't really get where he was going. He says I guess he used to be some sort of Western star because Ken asks him, "Oh, from a Western?" And he says, "No, from when I was the stunt coordinator on Golden Girls." And he says, "Fucking Estelle Getty." So maybe she kicked him in the balls. I guess maybe that's probably the correct implication. But he runs off, and then the next time we see him, his head is on a pike. So he dies off screen.
Good. Lucky for him, he's no longer on the show.
And then we go, and he tells him when he's going to a particular location to get the Parum Clarum or whatever the fuck that was called.
It's the spare key.
Yes, it's some special key that he needs for some reason. And he's told, do not touch the key. And of course, he repeats it because that's important, and then doesn't, listen to it later. And then we get a good 2 to 3 minute scene that is just draining physically on what they are doing. So he goes into this building. There is a sign on the door about, the person that you're coming to see, this fortune teller or whatever, and who, shows him where to go, hits a button, and he goes in the room. But of course, underneath that sign, it says, "No solicitors," a joke that was funny in the mid-90s. It was everywhere in the mid-90s. That was a joke. Just the sign on your door that said "No solicitors" was a punchline. And
I wonder if he tries to eat sushi in this show and then pukes it up when he realizes it's raw fish. I wonder if anyone a woman rubs his junk with their foot under a table.
And so he goes into a mirrored room. And he's trying to figure out what he's doing, and he keeps this person pops up, and this is Jennifer Saunders as the maester of Dubrovnik's sister, the Sester.
And that's the joke, by the way.
That is the joke.
But she does it the first time where she says, "He's my baster. I'm the Sester of." Braster,
not her baster. That would be very weird. This is not appropriate.
They could have gone that far. The Sester I'm the Sester. He's the Braster. The Maester's Sester.
Yes, this is a disaster.
And then disaster, and it go okay. The first time she says it, I literally almost fell within myself. Like gravity became so powerful, and my cells, my body lined up on top of each other. But then it keeps going where she's like, we have Kazans.
Yes.
My Mamer and my Father. And it just keeps going and going and going. Like it literally, like every time you think she's going to stop, it keeps going. And I know in his head, he thinks, if I just push it a little bit further, it'll go from almost funny to not funny back to funny. It never comes fucking close. Not from this first second she says it to the end. And she's in just this horrible costuming. It's just fucking it's such a stupid fucking joke.
She looks like a giant rat, basically. She has big teeth and like kind of a scrunched up nose, and
she's doing this stupid accent, which, by the way, is a British character pretending to be an Eastern European character, because we'll see in a second what happens with that.
So yeah, she does this for a very long time, and then she tells him to drink from the malice of or the chalice of malice, and then
she starts rhyming.
And then she just starts rhyming a bunch of stuff, and talks about anger juice or whatever, and he
wants to be a nice guy. That's his character trait, apparently.
Yes, and that's a nice setup for the end when we meet the bad guy. But he drinks it. He starts to have a little bit of like a mini kind of psychedelic freak out. She comes out from the glass and gives him this gun with five barrels on it, which actually is kind of funny. Like, that's like a funny sight gag with a gun that has 5 barrels on it. But it doesn't seem to matter because it just shoots one bullet that hits her in the leg.
Yeah, she keeps saying like, shoot it, hit me. You have to, and it's all in rhymes, by the way. Also not funny. Yeah. You have to shoot to get the prize or whatever.
Yeah.
He has to shoot her to get the key. And then he shoots the gun and hits her on the first shot in the leg.
Yeah.
And then she breaks character. Now she's British.
Yes.
She just talks like Jennifer Saunders. And now she's like, well, you fucking shot me in the leg. And the joke is she doesn't care anymore playing the character. She's just talking like she does and just tells him to fuck off and go, here's the key, fuck off, go away.
Yeah. And that's also a joke that's been done 1,000 times before.
1,000. Like, I mean, like in 91 to be like, holy that is so fucking innovative. But it's been done so
like
much.
A character pretending to be someone that they're not, and then
they get in pain and
they drop the axe. Like, you're like a character that shows up and you're like, I wonder if that's a fake accent, because I know that they don't really speak like that. So I wonder if that's going to come up, or if they're just doing an accent as the character, and then of course they drop it because it's so over the top, and you're like, oh, of course, I get it now.
And like it's this high fantasy thing, and then she gets shot, and she's like, oh, fuck off, go away, you prick. And like, it's bad enough, but when it's like a comedy legend who's also doing it, I mean, mind you, in theory, so is Mike Myers, a comedy legend doing this unfunny stuff, but like, he's brought in someone from AbFab and just making her incredibly unfunny.
Yeah. So he gets the key, and of course he touches it, and it starts to fuse with his DNA, which means he's the only person who is allowed to use it from this point forward. He takes it back to the Pentaverate, but they're mad at him, and they accuse him of murdering some people that he says he didn't murder. They show him Higgins' head on a pike because Higgins was apparently a traitor of some kind. We don't know exactly if that's true or not, but and then he gets taken and put into basically the Magneto cell from the X-Men movie.
That's why we were talking about, you and I were watching, we're talking about The Prisoner and stuff of that time, where this is trying to do sets like that.
Yeah, it has a kind of lo-fi sort of 60s retro futurism sort of look to it, which some of the sets look fun, some of them look not good, some of the backgrounds are like bad green screen. So it's like this weird mix of like, they built some stuff, they're in location for some stuff, like the big hall with the Pentaverate all wearing weird masks so that they don't have Mike Myers in a bunch of places. They don't have to shoot a bunch of coverage. Like that set looks kind of neat, but I think that might be a real place. And then some of the other sets are like a little chintzier, but charmingly so, I guess.
It just, to me, what I was saying to you was that it comes off as too flat. Like everything about like what made like those sets back in the day that made them so iconic was how they popped off the screen with color, angles,
Well, I will
lighting
say
and
yes. And I will say that this is just a hallmark. The way this show looks is a hallmark of the way that shows look and movies look these days. And there's a lot of video essays out there and a lot of articles out there online that you can find that talk about like why movies look so flat these days. Like it's just there's no contrast, there's no like the color seems to be turned way down, the brightness seems to be turned way down, everything looks very flat and like kind of uneven or like very even in terms of lighting, but there's no like pop to a lot of movies now, so that when something does come out and it does have that pop, it's like, oh, this looks great because you know, you're looking at something like, you know, Mad Max Fury Road, which has all this like great color and this like really this punchy look to it when
yeah, like
compared to a lot of other movies around that time. And it was like, oh, this is a feast for the eyes because it looks so different.
that and the new Blade Runner really stood out from that.
Sure. And this show, it
And
just falls into the trappings of what modern
which
shows look like.
it's a short six episode, 20-minute long episodes comedy, which I shouldn't expect much from, but like to make these interesting in theory sets, and then you have Mike Myers' way of wanting to shoot things, which is whatever is the center of the joke has to be the center of the
Of the
screen.
screen.
So if you have this like cool magneto glass jail in this white room, you could spruce it up by shooting it from like a Dutch angle or something to make it look, you know, like off-putting. Like he's in this weird, there's this normal guy in this weird situation and he doesn't know what's going on, and he is off put by the oddity of the whole situation. Instead, it's perfectly framed. It's in the center of the screen. It's lined up perfectly flat. It's lit very dully, and he's right in the middle. So you know he's the star of the scene. He's the person who's supposed to make you laugh. If he's gonna tell you a joke, he can look straight fucking you right in the eyes and then raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
It's like the scene where they're in the helicopter and he's making the jokes about how everyone knows like where we're Canadian. Every celebrity that's Canadian, right? Canadians know what celebrities are Canadian. He's pointing out areas when they're in the helicopter of where someone lives. They don't actually ever really show outside the helicopter where he's pointing. They're looking him straight in the face.
Yes.
So we know that he's making a joke.
Yeah. The helicopter sequence is really not good because it's kind of pointless. Like it feels like it's just there to allow him to do that joke.
Yeah. Well, in theory, it's to get him from one scene to the next scene to further the plot, which we don't understand.
Yeah.
But that's the joke in the middle, and it's like, I don't know. It's so visually uninteresting. Well, he points out places and points out somebody who's dead, where they live, but it's just like, okay, I get it. You're making this joke that you've made before, that Shatner made in like in 1987 on SNL or something. Like it's been like great. You filled that spot in this 22-minute episode.
Yeah.
Not that I need it to be an hour. If this was one movie, fucking God help us.
I mean, I think that I kind of feel like a movie would work better. Like, I feel like if this were like, so
if they trimmed it down a little bit and made him like maybe 6 characters.
Well, the helicopter lands and they get on a plane and there's
they were freed by the guy.
Oh yes, yeah. The mustachioed man frees him, lets him out, and then he goes to this helicopter, and there is is it Riley is his friend? So Riley
from the start.
Yeah. Riley's there, and she says, "Oh, some mustachioed guy brought me here and put me on this helicopter," and so they decide to leave. They're going to go back to Toronto, and they get stopped and they get landed at an airport, and they're put on a plane, and there's Skip Cho, played by Ken Jeong, who's cursing up a storm. That seems to be his big thing nowadays, is just playing characters that, well, not nowadays, but that's kind of been his thing, is just foul-mouthed characters. I mean, he was one of the people to walk out when fucking Giuliani came out on The Masked Singer, so I mean, I give him props for that, but
in theory, they're in LA though, right? If he's pointing out where celebrities live.
No, they're in New York. This is definitely New York.
That's not where Trebek lived. Still, also,
I mean, it looks like New
still
York. It might not be.
a very good distance to fly a helicopter from New York to Toronto.
Yeah, I guess that is true because
I mean, there are airspace laws. But.
Yeah, they're flying. It looks like they're flying over like the Hudson or whatever. So I'm assuming it's New York, but maybe I'm wrong. It definitely doesn't look like L.A. though. So
we know where Celine Dion lives in New York.
Yeah. So yeah, they land, they get on the plane, and Skip Cho is there, and he says that they need to help him or whatever. And then another character played by Mike Myers, Mike Myers,
Oh, if only.
He comes
Speaking of
out,
William
and
Shatner.
they start playing the John Carpenter theme. It's great. No, this other character who I think is named Bruce Baldwin, who
Yeah,
is
so he's-
an Australian
you know-
media mogul. He pops up and he says, "I'm the bad guy," and then they,
So what's the joke behind that, Josh?
so they can play the Billie Eilish song in the closing credits.
He's an Australian media mogul who actually turns out to be the bad
Yes.
guy.
Oh, yes. I see what you're getting at here. It's very subtle, but I think I got it.
Let's not tell the audience.
Yeah.
I don't want them to do your own research.
Yeah, you write in to us on Twitter at Weird
and
Center.
tell us what. Yeah. Here's a hint. It's not Steve Irwin.
Yeah, he's also still alive in this universe.
That's Steve. Oh, where's the Australian version of this show? Starring Yahoo Serious
That might be interesting.
as like 8 characters.
Yeah, so and then that's pretty much it. Then it kind of goes to the credits. I was looking through like the rest of the series. It does seem like there is a definitive end. Like they set it up as like, oh, possible new kind of secret society, because I think Ken gets sucked into a computer or something. I don't know.
What if he goes into reboot?
It's kind of like that, actually. Like there's
Ken's soul fuses with mental.
yeah, it's a
what
supercomputer that's supposed to, I guess, help prevent the Earth from global warming, or like apparently the Pentaverate. The whole point of the show is they want to stop climate change, and then something goes wrong, and our bad guy, Bruce, tries to I think destroy the machine that will then ruin the planet or something. I don't know exactly. I'm just kind of briefly skimming through this, but yeah, apparently he fuses with some sort of computer, and then they become the Septaverate, the secret society that they gave away in this episode.
Did we mention that when he's being walked to the jail through the Pentaverate headquarters, the best joke in this show that everyone would literally stand up and hoot for was when Maria Menounos has
God.
Pentaverate
Gas station TV.
headquarters TV thing like she has before the fucking movies.
Yeah, she's also gas station TV, I think, or she at least has been in the past. So
she has been. I mean, there's several versions of that. There's her version. There's one that's run by the Chive, which just seems really fucking weird. I'm not making that up.
yeah.
They seem to find
keep calm and gas on.
There was I've heard on the show, so I was filling the gas out. This is a couple years back now, obviously, and the Chive gas station TV thing came on. I'm like, I never pay attention to this, but it's not super cold right now, so I'm going to. And they were showing clips of Jimmy Kimmel's show, Tonight Show.
Oh yeah, great.
They showed a clip where they were like, he was reading notes from jokes online. That's all he was doing. He wasn't making his own jokes. And he was saying this guy wrote to him saying like if he had $1 million, he would use it to buy special tickets to a Adele's show, and when she's singing Hello, he would come up on the stage and go, "Hello, it's me." And Jimmy fell down on his desk about how funny this was. And I just sat there staring at the gas pump, trying to figure out why that was funny. And not only did he find it funny, he found it hilarious, and then the crowd were going crazy.
I'm laughing on the inside.
I'm sure. I mean, what a strong way to chive on.
I mean, Jimmy Fallon is a piece of shit. There's been those articles consistently about him and Horatio Sands and other SNL people bringing very young underage girls to parties and getting them drunk and trying to have sex with them. So, yeah, he's not a good dude.
just I just sat there like, this is what am I like? Much like this show and those comments we saw the trailers for this. What am I missing?
I don't know. Like that's the thing is like I don't know. Like the reception, according to Wikipedia, the Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 22% critical approval rating, which seems about right. Average rating of 4.8 out of 10. That's about right to me. I think that's fair. I don't think that the show is like completely garbage, but it's not good, and it's
spraying so much it's gonna piss on something.
Sure, and then but audience rating is 62%, which is higher than it should be.
Which often happens with stuff, but like I don't see like I understand people probably have, especially nowadays, people have this really like reaction of like, no, the things I liked 15, 20 years ago are objectively fantastic. And not only that, I'm angry that at new stuff because
yes,
like the idea that I have to go back and look at this and see that it might be different is rude to me. And I'm like, doesn't mean this new stuff's any good.
Here's a great review, and this is, I think, a good way to round this out because of exactly what you just said. And before we get to our sort of weird rating, and this is a top review on IMDb, 8 out of 10 stars. Style of comedy that's outdated or not. And they go on to say, I spent the first few episodes thinking ... This style of comedy was done and finished. Yet I kept watching 5 periods. By the midpoint, I was chuckling away at silly, quote, old school toilet humor. Oh, this is also a UK person because they put a U in humor.
Or Canadian.
Possibly Mike Myers himself wrote this. Hard to say. By the midpoint, I remembered how not to take everything so seriously. So I think that's our problem. We are taking things too seriously here. We're not just letting ourselves laugh at this great old school toilet humor. We got toilet humor in this one. They rode up through a toilet.
I mean, it's pretty on the nose. Like I know I come off because it's a podcast. Sometimes like I'm hypercritical of a lot of things, but like I don't have that fanciest like sense of humor. Like we did a fucking podcast about butterfly kisses.
Yeah,
and if you listen to that shit, like it's it's not high.
No, we did a very stupid show where we broke down the lyrics of a song that's terrible, and it was fun for us. And so yeah, I totally get indulgent humor. I totally get it. It's very silly, and it can be fun.
It can be fun, and I feel like there's sometimes people, and it's okay to turn your brain off and enjoy certain things, but sometimes I think people do a thing where they're like, no, I love this because you guys are snobby about something.
Well, here we go. This is continuing this review. By the end, I was laughing out loud at the randomness of cliches and stupid jokes while noticing that Mike Myers sparked the way for the Coen brothers and Wes Anderson.
They're at this point. This review is
the Coen
10
brothers
times as clever as the fucking movie,
the Coen
TV
brothers.
show
I think were making movies long before Austin Powers ever. Austin Powers before
the Love Guru,
definitely before
Blood
Mike
Simple.
Myers was doing anything. I mean, Blood Simple, while not a comedy, came out in 1984. Raising Arizona, comedy, came out in 87. That's
I think my favorite part,
Mike Myers.
My favorite like piece of lore was back when like the Coen brothers and Sam Raimi and Mike Myers were all living together in one house and bouncing ideas off each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Partying on.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe, you know, Wayne's World came out, what, 93, 92, something around there? And
I think so.
And Hudsucker Proxy was 94, so I guess maybe they took some tips from
they like ran, oh fuck man, we gotta rewrite this whole shit.
But yeah, this ending of this review is, to be fair, it's not brilliant, but hey, Neither are you.
If you had asked me if Wayne's World 2 was 1 year later than Wayne's World, I would have never believed you.
Did it only come out in 93?
92, 93,
Well,
back to back.
see, there you go. Wayne's World 1 and 2 were out before the Hudsucker Proxy. So Coen Brothers took a lot of and way before Big Lebowski too. So they took a lot of inspiration from Wayne's
Could
World.
you fucking imagine like a big hit movie having its sequel 1 year later?
I mean, it does happen. I think they did that with Scream and Scream 2 because I think they were already filming Scream 2. I mean, by the time the first one came out on video, so like
they filmed Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2 simultaneously.
So see, it's really interesting if you look at the Coen Brothers filmography. They had Barton Fink come out in 91. Which is not a traditional comedy, but it's got some funny parts in it. And then they took those 2 years off, 92, 93. They didn't put anything out because they were like, fucking Wayne's World movies came out. We can't compete. And then they came back in 94 with the Hudsucker Proxy.
And he turned watching their movies into Austin Powers International Man of Mystery.
Yeah, apparently. And then Wes Anderson, sure, maybe he was inspired by Mike Myers. I can't say for sure. But
he just loved the tweeness of Goldmember.
Yeah, I mean, Bottle Rocket came out in 96, and while it was based on a short film, I'm sure it took a lot of inspiration from Wayne's World and Austin Powers.
Oh my God. Like, that reviewer is trying to make some sort of point about, and as someone who's not incredibly smart, I just really, nothing is more tiresome to me than the like, I like something because I'm tired of you smarties liking something.
Yeah.
And generally what they go after is just other mainstream stuff that just is slightly smarter than other mainstream stuff. Because they don't even know what like true highball stuff is. There's not even on their fucking radar. Like, I'll be like, everyone's watching fucking French films at the Oscars. Like, have you watched the fucking Oscars and all the French films winning it?
Yeah.
Like, you're a fucking idiot.
I mean,
like
this other person wrote a review.
Très stupide.
1 star, and they said, same old, same old. If you're looking for a refreshing Mike Myers comedy with great nostalgia and a chuckle thrown in, don't bother. This is woke formula, white shaming, white guilt promoting with no depth.
Because it ends with him, the Septaverate being more diverse than the Pentaverate.
That's right. Woke garbage.
Oh God, I bet he goes broke now. Because I've heard something about that at Pizza Hut.
But
we live in the worst timeline.
We do.
And yet I don't like this. I guess if he doesn't like it, that means I have to like it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think that's what it is that they see people hating, so they write reviews that they love it, but then they see people who love it, but then they watch it and they're like, wow, this doesn't like white people for some reason, so I'm mad at it.
So I want to put a little pin right here before we finish and get this rating of weirdness of this episode, because we are going to do an episode on The Littlest Hobo.
Oh, yes, for sure.
I believe we have a request someone to be on that one. And one episode Boy on Wheels does have a guest cameo by Mike Myers.
Ooh, all right, good to know. Well, we'll have to try to get that one because I think I would like to see this little dog interact with. Does he play a character?
The dog?
No, Mike Myers.
No, he plays Tommy.
Oh, okay, but I mean like a character with prosthetics and stuff.
Oh, hopefully. I hope he has at least a fake nose on. Hopefully, he's one of those people who dress up like that story I found for you of the person who bought a very expensive, very accurate dog costume and managed to work their skeleton into a dog-like shape.
Oh yeah, check the internet for that. That guy's living his best life. He's
that guy did a great job of doing exactly what he set out to do.
But yeah, I think we should rate this episode of the Pentaverate, episode 4, on our scale of weirdness. And I'm going to let you go first.
This is to me a 2 because if you had told me I ran a Mike Myers comedy through an AI machine and had it spit out, this is exactly what like no left field hits, even with the Shrek part. No, nothing like this is exactly what I would have thought it would be in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. Any of these years. This is like dead on, right in the center, like, oh, yep, what I expected. Great. I'm not like I didn't watch it like, holy shit, I'm so disappointed about how this turned out. I'm so shocked at how bad this is. I'm so shocked at these jokes. No, this is exactly literally nothing could surprise me about what the level of humor would be after Love Guru. And I didn't watch that, but in fairness, almost nobody did. So that's fine. It is a lifestyle choice not to watch The Love Guru. This is exactly what I thought it would be. It is tit for tat. He's doing every accent I expected.
And some we didn't even see.
Some we didn't even see.
I think he's playing like a Russian guy, like some sort of Czar or something.
And then a joke at the end where the bad guy turns out to be, let's just say it's R. Murdoch. No, wait, that's too obvious. Rupert M. They 2 out of 10 on the weirdest scale. This is what's the opposite of left field? Right field? This is right field.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go. I won't go as low. I'll say I'm waffling between a 3 and a 4, just because it's so
piss somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, just
really long and hard.
Just because it's so weird to take kind of a fun throwaway gag in a movie from almost 30 years ago and turn it into a series, and then just like not do anything unique or fun with it. But again, maybe we're not the audience. I don't, it is too woke for sure, but maybe we're not the audience for it. I don't, like
maybe this,
who
maybe
is
this is made for, I mean, Netflix is in every country. This is like really strongly made for Sweden.
Yeah, the kids who are not eating at the dinner table can sit and watch this in the bedroom.
Well, they eat. Yeah, they have to pass 23 to 27 minutes while the family eats at their friend's house.
Very timely with this episode because we're recording and it's going to come out in like a day or two.
The only reason I'm making that's the only, we usually record long in advance, but we've been busy lately and I've been sick, but I thought I could make some fucking timely jokes for once.
But yeah, so that's, I mean, yeah, I'll say 3. I'll say 3 with like a side of 4, like coming in hot. But it's like, yeah, it's not that weird. I mean, maybe you would watch it and maybe you would enjoy it. Maybe there's something that will appeal to some folks. I really did grow up, like really, I loved Wayne's World.
We just rewatched How I Met Your
Axe Murderer. So that show would have ended better if they'd all been axe murdered at the end of it.
Like literally the last time we were together.
Yeah, we watched that movie. It held up pretty well. There's a couple jokes that aren't great, but again, it came out in the fucking mid-90s, so it's like, yeah, there's going to be some humor that doesn't work, but it feels like this show still has that humor. Like I feel like a $6 Million Man reference would have worked in 93 and would have still been dated. So,
but like, here's the thing, like the joke, I don't know if that's how it's filmed or it's at a time, but like the Jennifer Saunders thing, it's just not funny.
No.
And then when she breaks character at the end, it's not funny. But like, compare that to the Charles Grodin part in So I Married an Axe Murderer. That held up tremendously.
Yes, it's still very good. It still works. It's still good. And I rewatched the Wayne's World. It's still fun. Those movies are still fun. Like even the first Austin Powers, still pretty fun. I'm pretty sure
specifically the first one only.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the second one doesn't hold up very well, and I'm pretty sure the third one, which I only saw once, probably doesn't hold up very well.
I remember seeing the first one in theater with my girlfriend, and there was an idea, a feeling at the time of like, this is like Mike Myers' last chance. This is a really out there concept. It's not gonna be a big hit, so let's go support it.
Yeah,
We saw like the third or fourth, like it was, these movies were out longer then,
yes.
and we saw it like pretty far into the run, and we're like, oh, this is fun. We're gonna rent it when it comes out in theater, like, you know, and then like everyone's once it came out on video cassette, everyone fucking did. Like that was the video release of that is really where it exploded.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like by the third one, I believe we went to like in theaters.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Oh
we definitely saw that one in theaters. I saw the second one in theaters too, and you know, it's like, I mean, it is what it is. You know, those movies, some of them hold up, but then after that point, it's like then he does The Love Guru, then he does oh god, what else was there after that? There was something else that wasn't great, or was that it? Was The Love Guru like one of the last things?
There's Cat in the Hat, but does that count?
Yeah, I think that counts. I mean, it was.
I mean, he obviously is Shrek.
Oh, Shrek, that was his big thing. But he's, you know,
I mean, like, and like
he's
nothing
on
like
screen.
Well, it's funny. It's because everyone's like, oh, he's disappeared for years. Like he is the most fucking front and center cartoon character from literally 2001 through like the last Shrek movie is what, 2010 or so. Like 10 years of Shrek, plus Shrek being a constant pop culture, like in your face shit for like 10 years after that, just out of irony / kids finding it. Like he'd never disappeared. Like it's just his voice. It's just him doing the voice from So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And the last big thing that he was in was as a supporting character in the Bohemian Rhapsody Queen movie, which I fucking hated. It was like my most hated movie of that year. And he plays a character who is telling them that Bohemian Rhapsody is never going to sell, and some dumb kids are going to be headbanging in their car to it, and there's a nice there's a nice little look at the audience when that happens, because you're like, oh, you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it?
Did that like win? Did that win awards?
Yeah, it does. It did. It won a bunch of awards.
Why?
I have no fucking clue, honestly. I mean, directed by a pedophile and like a terrible movie all the way around, but yet somehow won some prestigious film awards.
Bryan Singer just keeps singing, huh? You can't stop it.
But yeah, I guess that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Center of Weirdness. I can't say that I would recommend you watch the Pentaverate. I mean, maybe you'd like it. I don't know. I don't know
if you can hate watch this, but like,
no.
I mean, like,
maybe
you'll know within like 2 minutes of it if you find it funny, and if you do, like, fucking watch the whole damn thing. You're not gonna get a meal like this for quite some time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you know, be sure if you've watched the Pentaverate, you liked it, you enjoyed it. You know, let us know on Twitter. Tell us we're wrong.
Yeah, if you think it's too woke, let us know, and then I'll fucking block you.
Yeah, let us know.
It'll give me some satisfaction. I'm that the Bryan Skinner. You'll see me when you see me, you'll see on the screen that says you've been blocked by the Bryan Skinner. So that's fine.
But until next time, we're talking about another weird episode of a television series. I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner.
And keep it weird out there, you Pentaverate sons of bitches.
That's the catchphrase for the show.
I think a Canadian guy lives over there.
It's so funny. Can't stop laughing about it.
You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at WeirdCenter. As always, thanks for listening.